Welcome to the Find My Catalyst podcast. We all have problems we're looking to solve. We know that there are solutions out there, but we struggle with this. How do we find the solution? Where does the nudge come from to help us take the next step and start solving tough problems? This podcast is designed to help you find your catalyst and take that next step. I'm Mike Simmons. I am a managing partner of Catalyst Acts. We've rebranded the company. We are no longer Catalyst Sale. We are Catalyst Acts. This is all about reinforcing the importance of taking action and highlights the way that we work with organizations. We work with organizations in the context of speaking, training, coaching, and advising. So you can follow us at findmycatalyst.com for more information about Catalyst Acts. Today, Cassie Tucker joins me to talk about an amazing movie, the Air Jordan story within Nike. The movie's come out not too long ago, Air. It's available now on Amazon Prime. And if you haven't watched the movie, I'm sure you'll enjoy this conversation and it'll inspire you to go watch the movie. If you have watched the movie, I'd love to hear from you what you think about Cassie and my take on the application of this movie in the context of both business, life, and sales. Let's get to the conversation. Cassie, it is great to see you. I was fortunate enough to see you just a couple of weeks ago, and I keep saying this to different people that I've recorded with recently because many of you were all at the same mastermind that we participated in. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It is an honor to be here. I cannot tell you how excited I am about this episode, and I've spent a lot of time listening to your content, and so to be actually a part of that content is such an honor, so thank you.
I'm going to ask, what are you excited about? Like, why get excited about this?
Well, for one, I'm pumped about the topic we're going to discuss because it's a good one and you came up with it as an idea. But for two, I think I just admire you a lot and your content, and to be part of that conversation I'm grateful to be here. So,
well, I think we should just end right on that note because I don't know how it could get any better.
Pull
than
that and use that in your marketing. Yes.
Thank you. So, done this a couple of different times. I think the most recent movie I did this with was with Jeff Bajorek, and I'll include a link in the show notes to this one, but we talked about Ford versus Ferrari and really built off of a series that I do each winter or each Christmas time, which is Merry and Bright. And Merry and Bright, just for the background, in case this is the first time you're hearing about it, this was a daily practice that I started in 2019, primarily focused on getting more comfortable in creating video content. I was extremely uncomfortable in front of a camera, looking at a camera, not knowing what to do with my eyes, all of this other kind of stuff, and got into the daily practice, which would help with editing content. So if there is anything that you're uncomfortable with, do it for 25 days straight in a row, and you will either get comfortable with it or realize it is just not for you. And the improvement that I've made, both in quality of video content, succinct communication, and the ability to edit and create that content quickly, has significantly changed my production output. If you watch some of the videos that I'll do on Tuesdays, and I know this sounds all about me, but there's a point here. If you watch some of the videos on Tuesday, the Tactical Tuesday stuff, I've shifted those and now bring Murphy along. Number one, because all of a sudden downloads went up or views went up through the roof once I brought up Puppy onto the video, which, okay, I'll do that for the views. The message is still really powerful. And I could deliver the same message without the puppy and get fewer views. I could deliver the message with the puppy and get more views. So we'll go there. So Merry and Bright started, season 1 was 2019. It was all about connecting the dots, the lessons we could learn from Christmas movies that apply to business, life, and sales. And then in year 2, did that on Pixar movies. Year 3 was a rough year, a little bit of a throwaway year for me, but I did it on some of my favorite movies and did some recaps. And then last year, season 4, based on Ted Lasso. So Jeff and I recorded a while back when Ford versus Ferrari was out there about the lessons that apply to business, life, and sales from Ford versus Ferrari. And today, Cassie joins me to talk about the movie Air and some of the lessons that apply to business, life, and sales. So how's that for a start, Cassie?
I'm excited. I think the reason this stuff works too, kind of similar to the puppy content, is people are drawn in by dogs, animals. They love pets. And so it brings a reason for them to continue watching. Same thing with movies. People love movies, especially when it's a recent movie that they have watched and they loved it. They want to be drawn in by that and kind of learn lessons from that film. So I think it's a great concept, and I'm excited to break this movie down because it was a great one.
So a friend of ours, Jeff Knoll, got really, really frustrated when he listened to that episode and realized that we were talking about a movie, not Jeff Bajorek and my experience racing cars. So I have never played professional basketball. I have not worked for Nike. I worked with Nike. Nike's been a client of mine in the past, and they are a fascinating organization. And Air is, if you're not familiar with it, it's about the story of how Nike brought Michael Jordan into the fold and created the Air Jordans. So what was when you went and saw the movie, how did you feel walking out of the movie theater?
I simply put was inspired by that movie. I kid you not, it was 11 o'clock at night. And in my mind, I was thinking, I'm going to go home and I'm going to create something and I'm going to just launch it and go for it. I think it leaves you really feeling like you can accomplish a lot and you can do a lot. And the mentality and the viewpoints that the characters, are really real characters, had in the movie, it's truly inspiring. And I think it's difficult, some of the decisions they made throughout the film and some of the adjustments to their viewpoints and their preconceived notions about things. But I think it puts a lot into perspective, especially around building a business, but also how you can view life and decisions in life as well.
So share a story from the movie that really helped connect the dots for you in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. So, one of the things, I'm in marketing. So, of course, my first point is kind of around the marketing and branding realm. But one of the statements, and I wrote this down, that Mrs. Jordan made in the film was, "A shoe is just a shoe until my son steps foot into it." And the lesson around that is, when you're building a product, or a business for that matter, a business is just a business, or a product is just a product until someone or something gives it meaning. So when you're developing whatever you're creating, even a service offering, how can you build a story around that to allow someone to step foot into that story, to have an emotion around that story? And so there's power in effective branding, but power in brand story as well. And it's so important. And so when creating anything for your business, I really challenge people to figure out what story they're trying to tell and what is that emotion or experience that you want someone to take part in when participating in a service or buying a product or engaging with your brand. And I think that was a powerful, powerful question or statement that Mrs. Jordan shared that I think can give us a lot of things to think about when building and launching products or services.
I'm going to build on that because, and spoiler alert, there will be lots of spoilers in this discussion. Go watch the movie. Even if you've watched it for the first time after listening to it, these spoilers aren't going to change. It might give you a deeper appreciation for the detail, the level of detail that went into the way that they produced and delivered the story. So Strauss, Jason Bateman's character, is the first person that said that statement out loud in the movie. The second person who said that statement out loud in the movie was Matt Damon's character. What is his name in the movie?
I completely forgot.
All right. It will come to us, or we'll look it up as we're going through.
We'll look it up.
Matt Damon's character says it. And what was really awesome about Matt Damon's character saying it is Bateman's character, Strauss, recognized it in the meeting and didn't deliver that statement in the meeting. Matt Damon delivered it in the meeting. And one of the cool things that happens when teams work and collaborate with each other is you can take things that you learn from others. Matt Damon's character learning from Jason Bateman's character, who's the marketing person. He takes this line, which is a powerful line. Bateman was not prepared to deliver that line in that environment. He was uncomfortable in the meeting. He was cracking bad jokes in the meeting. Damon delivers the line and it gets everybody moving. And then Jordan's mom delivers the line back to Damon later in the movie and slightly tweaks it. So she iterates on this statement that starts with Strauss, goes to Sonny. Thank you. Thanks for looking it up. That's the beauty of the internet. Goes to Sonny and then gets revisited by Jordan's mom. And to me, it's a powerful statement around the importance of continuing to communicate with a level of clarity and being comfortable with allowing people to interpret something and put their own spin on it. So awesome story, Cassie.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm curious too, what one of your biggest takeaways was from the
one
movie.
That I love. And it is a level of detail that not a lot of people appreciate, I think, when they're doing business with others. And it's when Sonny creates the trust between he and Mrs. Jordan, when he lays it out on what's going to happen when the Jordans go and visit Converse and when the Jordans go and visit Adidas. And he sets the stage. Basically is showing in a crystal ball, this is what's going to happen. And he's able to do it because he understands his competition very, very well. And we as revenue leaders, as business leaders, need to understand our competition very well. And we can set expectations with our clients around what is going to happen. We can predict the future because we've seen this play over and over again. So one of my favorite scenes is when he sets that stage with Mrs. Jordan. He then lays it out there and places a bet and says, if this happens, then I would love for you to take the time and meet with us. And if it doesn't happen, you can tell us to pound sand. He lays out what's going to happen in both the Converse meeting, the Adidas meeting, lays out some questions that Jordan's mom can ask, which start to reveal the actual intent of the group that's trying to sell them. And then Jordan's mom asks him the question, what question would you ask me? And it's like, why am I in Wilmington, North Carolina? And so that whole scene goes through this building of trust, then moving to a point where Damon is able to deliver, Sonny's able to deliver his message around belief and why he believes in Michael and the impact that this player is going to have. This happens every day when good, genuine, intentional revenue professionals are engaging with your customer base. They start to future tell, they foretell what's going to happen, and that will build trust. And the only way that you can do it is if you have that experience. That is one of all of the scenes. That's my favorite scene in the movie because it's such a small detail and it works.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll add to that too. Not only did he know about the competition and was able to communicate some of those points, but he was also anticipating and was aware of the needs and desires that Mrs. Jordan had for her son. She wanted him to feel special, Michael to feel special with whatever partner he was going to engage with. And so the differentiation factor and the reason they were able to differentiate was because they had knowledge of their competition. But the differentiation that Jordan was promoting was making Michael feel special. He was going to create a shoe with his name on it versus the other partners that were a little less special in the way that they were creating this concept. And so until Nike was pushing that different idea that made Michael feel special, Nike probably wouldn't have landed that partnership. For one, most definitely wouldn't have landed it. And number two, they might not be around today because that idea is what saved that brand.
Really, really powerful stuff. What else? What else jumps out at you?
Oh, I think another one that I have is the importance of living up to your company purpose and or mission statement. So the example here is, of course, when we hear Nike, we think of their slogan, just do it, which I think embodies a lot of things. But one of the things it communicates is not over justifying, just doing, taking risks, trying new ideas. And so when Sonny first proposed signing Jordan, Phil, the founder of the company, was very hesitant. He was not quite sure about that. It was going to cost a lot of money. They were going to have to invest all of their money into this one player versus multiple players. And he wasn't quite sure about it. He gave a lot of pushback for this. And his team challenged him in the fact that, listen, your slogan is literally just do it, take a risk. So why is this one thing holding you back? What is stopping you from making this decision that could either really make or break the company? But unless you try something, you're not going to know the fruits of your labor. His company was founded originally on risk taking. And so I think that reminder was probably eventually what pushed him to buy into this idea. But I think as leaders and as business owners and entrepreneurs, even if you don't have a team, set an example for your customers and the people working with you that you live up to your company's mission, your values. So if you say you take risks, take risks. If you say you value people, value people. And that says a lot about who you are as a business owner.
Definitely says a lot about who you are as a business owner. Why do you think business owners lose sight of that?
I think a lot of things. We lose sight of it because we're caught up in success and money. And it seemed like one of the things holding Phil back, for example, if we want to tie it back to the movie, was the potential to lose money. And so I think I'm a strong believer that we have to give a little to get some back, give a lot to get some back. We have to take financial risks. And so I think sometimes we don't think about the bigger picture and what fruits can come from that risk taking, but also influence, people telling us we shouldn't do something when we probably should. There's a number of different factors, but I think it's in our environment, our mindset holding us back, number of things that I think could lead to that.
And I think the thing that was really cool, and they showed this a couple of different times in the movie, is they go back to I don't know that Nike calls them guiding principles, but there's these list of principles or list of ideas that inform how Nike does what it does. The values, at least in the movie, they sit above Bill's couch and they're typed out, and you can find pictures of these in various places on the internet. But being able to come back to those principles, those guidelines, is a reminder so that when you start to get pulled off track, you can recalibrate, get refocused, and be really comfortable with the idea of your team pushing back, your team challenging you, not challenging you because they're being a bunch of jerks inside the organization, but challenging you because they bought into the vision, they bought into the mission because of these things. So this highlights integrity for me. And I think that's another strong message in the movie, is the importance of integrity. And it's hard to have a high level of integrity when you don't know your fit inside a business. And this is one of the challenges that Sonny has. He's kind of a misfit. He doesn't really belong in Nike. There's a question around, why is he really here? And ultimately, he demonstrated why he's here. He was able to pull a team together. He was able to push some boundaries. He was able to get to the point where they actually had that meeting with the Jordans and could deliver something there. Had they not been able to get that meeting, none of the other stuff would have really mattered or would have happened as far as the design of the shoe, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes back to one of my other points that I have written down here, is that it's important to empower your team to use their talents and trust them to get the job done. So one example of that is, of course, Sonny, there was, like you said, there was a little bit of a challenge of what is he doing here? But ultimately, in the end, he was able to use his unique talents to get a big job done. The other aspect of that in the movie was the designer. It was a very simple piece in the movie, but even when they went to him and said, hey, we need something completely different, have fun with it. Here you go. This is who it's for. And he kind of ran with it, and he created something a little bit different than what they'd seen before. And plus something that broke rules. The color of the shoe was against NBA standards and against their rules. And so they allowed their team members to be a little different and unique. And that, of course, led to making this whole collaboration with Jordan happen. But Mike, I'm curious too, if you have anything else on your list. What other?
So many takeaways. The movie is phenomenal. What I really appreciate is how Sonny leverages his network, leverages the access that he has to people who are in the know and have a level of awareness about the customer that they're looking to bring in. And in this case, the customer that they're looking to bring in is the Jordan family. And he knows that he's got a path that he's supposed to go through, which is through the agent. And that's the expectation. But he also knows that he can leverage other people inside his network to get a better understanding of the right path to get in front of the right people and do things in a way that makes sense for the customer again, the customer family, the Jordan family, and do it in the context of helping them, not trying to manufacture fit, not trying to convince them to do something else, not creating a problem, but asking some questions to reveal those things, like you had talked about, Cassie, about what's really important to the family, what's important to Michael's mom, Michael's dad, Michael, the broader Jordan family as things go along. So I think the way that they highlighted the importance of leaning on people in the network as a way to gather information before you start taking action, but then following it up with actual action was super, super powerful.
Yeah. And they worked hard in doing that. I mean, they were at the office for overnight shifts and just really worked hard to, again, make that concept so unique and different. But I do have one more for you that I would love to share if you don't mind. And that is the importance of being flexible, especially when it comes to your preconceived notions that you have about the way things are done in your business. I think one of the most dangerous statements a company or a business leader can state is that's the way we've always done things, or we don't do it that way. So one of the things that stood out to me within this topic was in their negotiations, the Jordans demanded a cut of each sneaker be given back to Michael. And the reaction from Sonny was, we don't do it that way, or sneaker companies don't do this. Like, that's never been done before. And at first, when I heard his reaction, I was gut wrenched. I was so upset because I was like, you know what? They've come so far and they're almost there. The deal is almost signed, but this roadblock is standing in their way in this last final request. And so at first, the answer was, we can't do that, or it's not going to happen. Phil, of course, the founder, comes in and saves the day and says, you know what, let's go for it. Just do it. Go ahead. Let's take a risk here. But I'm thankful that they decided to make a decision on that. But I think the lesson there is be flexible again with the standards you've put in place in your business. Of course, within means, there's certain values that you need to set in place for your business that you don't waver on. But certain things I think can shift over time, and you can decide again to take a risk to do something out of the norm in order to bring big results in.
Definitely. I mean, and you think about how that aligns with Nike culture and the idea of taking risks. And one of the things I did after watching the movie is I went and picked up Shoe Dog. So I'm in the process of listening to the book, and I'm at 1979 right now. So I'm, as we date this, and Cassie and I are recording on May 19th, which I've come into a bad habit of starting to talk about timing on when we record, but I've gone through and I'm listening to Shoe Dog, and it's phenomenal. And you start to see the details that are included in the book and how some of these people come together into Nike as an organization, and then how well they portray that in the movie. And there are so many risks that are taken up front when Nike is building the organization, or when Phil Knight is working with the team to build the organization. And then there's this view of Phil being a risk-adverse type person. He's just very thoughtful about how he approaches things. One of the things that I really like about this risk-taking and where the team came together is Sonny felt very comfortable asking questions. And many times he was, called, and here we go, now we'll call it explicit, but he was basically called the asshole in the room because he was asking those questions. And the reality of the questions is the questions help to nudge people and provide a perspective and shift perspective and reveal some blind spots. I never thought that Sonny asked a question in the movie. Again, Matt Damon's character asked a question in the movie that wasn't designed with a high level of intention and a genuine interest in helping, even at the point when he asked Phil if the Dalai Lama drove a great Porsche.
Yeah, no, attention to detail was another key theme throughout the movie for sure. Even in the fact that Sonny brought up Michael Jordan in the first place as an option to pursue for a partner. He saw potential in him that no one else did. And so I think having a keen attention to detail across all lines of your business is incredibly important. I know that's an overstated term here in the business world, but it is truly important, and not just the big details, but the little details as well, because they all add up.
Yeah, well, and knowing what your expertise is, like the way that they did this, and again, watch the movie, and everybody knows that Jordan ended up signing with Nike, and they created a line of shoes, and the Jordan family is in a really good financial position as a result of that relationship. Nike has grown significantly as a result of the relationship. Everybody kind of everything works out really, really well for everyone. And you kind of see how the story comes together. But there's the way that they portray this with Matt Damon looking at the video of Jordan's shot when he played college basketball at North Carolina was so amazing. It was only someone who could appreciate the game at the level that Sonny Vaccaro appreciates the game of basketball. You could only notice the nuance and detail in that video if you have that passion. what this highlights for me is do what you're made for and really lean deep into that do what you're made for thing. So not only just do it, but just do it relative to what you're made for. And it's amazing the impact that you can have on people inside your organization, people, your customers, the perspective that you can share with others. I'll bring another one in the do what you made for related to the person that you brought up, which is, I think it's Pete, was the shoe designer. And Pete asked the question, he said, do you both dream of basketball shoes all the time? And do you remember what Sonny said and remember what Strauss said?
I do not, but I feel like I could take a wild guess and say every night.
So actually what they did is they said, Strauss said, no, I dream of marketing and think about marketing all the time. And Sonny said, no, I don't dream about basketball shoes. I do dream about basketball.
Right.
Well, and then you've got Pete, who that's it. Like this is a person who works in a basement in the dungeon of the facility in, I think at that point they were in Beaverton. He's in the dungeon of Nike. And that's what he does. Like there are people inside your organization where that is all that they do. They care about where the periods are. They care about where the commas are. They care about what the font looks like. They care about the words that are used. That's not my skill set. I need to find people who have that passion associated with doing those things. And I thought that was really highlighted really, really well in the movie.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the lesson there is, immerse yourself and work so hard in your craft endlessly. And I think another thing that is helpful too, especially when you're training your brain to come up with creative ideas and think about what you do on a deeper level, is try to see your expertise in a number of different settings and environments. So for example, I went into this movie and I pulled out some of those marketing elements because that's my expertise. I didn't think about as much from the basketball side or the sales side or what have you, but try to pull out lessons learned from your area in concerts and experiences and when you go to the grocery store, because I think there's a lot to be learned in everyday things. And we can also learn unique ways of doing things from different industries and different experiences that we partake in.
So I have 3 points with 3 big takeaways for me in the movie. And I'll ask you to do the same thing. Yep. Some of this might be repetitive, but the 3 big points for me. Number 1, have the right people working on the right things inside your organization, things that they get passionate and excited about. I didn't realize this, but Strauss, based on the book, actually was formerly an attorney, and he came in to do other things inside Nike and then ultimately moved into a marketing role. And when Phil Knight would talk about hiring, he knew how to hire. He hired accountants and lawyers. Accountants because they're well-practiced and really good with numbers, and lawyers because they know how to communicate. At least that's how he says it in Shoe Dog. You can bring people in with a very diverse set of skills and then find new opportunities for them to go in and do innovative things inside your organization. So get the right people working on the right things. The second one, make sure you lean on your network. Lean on your network and ask for help. Ask for guidance. A lot of times your network knows many of the people that you want to help and serve and can provide some perspective. That doesn't mean that they go out and do the work for you. They can provide some perspective for you that will help you do your work a lot better. And then the third one is put yourself out there. You have to get out there and get in the field to be able to do these things. Sonny at the beginning is out there talking to high school basketball coaches, and people are wondering why he's wasting his time and then coming back through Vegas and all of that other kind of stuff. Like they just wonder what he does and what value he brings to the organization. Well, getting out there in front of the basketball coaches and building those relationships early on leads to getting in front of players at some point in time, getting on an airplane and going out to Wilmington, North Carolina, going to someone's front door gets you in front of the people that you want. And it helps to differentiate you from the others who are sitting behind a book or sitting behind a phone or sitting behind an email, not putting themselves out there. So go out there, go to events, go out there and meet with customers, go out there and meet with your team. Those are 3 big ones for me. Cassie?
Yeah. Thank you. No, those are great. Thank you for sharing those. I think my three, so starting with number one is, as I mentioned earlier, give your product some sort of deeper meaning and tie it into a brand story. I think a lot of times we go to launch a product or a service and we haven't thought about the transformation we're trying to help someone achieve and go through, or the solution we're providing and what that means to someone's life. So again, when they were building this brand and engaging in this partnership, it gave it deeper meaning because Michael gave it meaning. And when we put on a pair of Air Jordans, we feel like we can accomplish anything. We can win a championship, things like that. So there's this deeper story behind there, and it empowers you and gives you this newfound emotion, this inspired emotion that another pair of shoes may not give you. Number two as well is, again, kind of tying into what I said earlier, but with creating a product or service and engaging with clients and engaging with partners, serve, help people, fulfill a need for them. Again, when they were engaging with the Jordans, it wasn't just, we want to work with your son because they're going to help us, but we're going to help elevate your son and give him a name and establish this really powerful brand around his name. And so that was a need that, again, Mrs. Jordan had for her son, and Nike provided that to them. And another one, too, with that is give people an experience they don't expect. So they got to know their competition. Nike got to know deeply Adidas and Converse and the way that they were going to go through the process. Like you mentioned, Mike, Sonny was going through some of those questions that they were going to ask. And so get to know your competition and create an experience for your customers that no one else is going to create. And again, anticipate those needs, anticipate those desires that a customer would have when it comes to your product. And then third, we already mentioned this a lot, but just do it, take risks, continually assess the way that you do things and think about how you could do it differently. Listen to customer feedback and also what your team is saying. Because I think a lot of times when we internally just think about what we want and the way we want to do things, we don't have those new perspectives that can help us do things better. And so be open to new ideas, be open to new ways of approaching different marketing concepts, sales concepts, products, services, and you never know what could come from that.
Just as you were talking, the other one jumped out at me that I don't think I said, and if I've said it already, and this is repetitive, forgive me. Communicate from the heart. Be transparent and candid in the way that you communicate what you want to communicate. Plan, and as a team, and collaborate with others when you go out and do it. Get out there and share your point of view, share your perspective with the integrity of having actions and beliefs and words align with each other. As people will either choose to engage in that conversation and lean in, or they will be pushed away. And if they are pushed away, they're not for you. And that's okay. They might be for someone else. They might be a better fit for Adidas or Converse. They're not Nike. So communicate from the heart, have a point of view, have a perspective. That would be the other thing I would add.
Yeah. Mic drop. I don't think I have anything else to add to that. I think that's well said and excellent points you pulled out, Mike. So yeah, thank you for sharing and for allowing me to be a part of this.
Sure thing. So let's talk a little bit. Like, do you think people go in and watch movies like this and think about lessons that apply to business, life, sales, work, all of those kind of things?
I think there's some people out there for sure. Yeah, I definitely did it with this one. I think certain movies that are targeted in that direction, more of a business front, make us think that way. But there's so many lessons on morality and business and life that we can learn from stories if we just open up our mind to that. So I think so. But I think I'm encouraged now to think about it even more in any movie that I'm watching.
Watch Ford versus Ferrari again and do the same thing. The other one, one of my favorites on this is Bug's Life. And watch Bug's Life. The beginning of Bug's Life, there's a scene that is absolutely amazing. And it's when the bugs are all kind of working through. I think bugs are the ants. Is that the primary?
I think so.
Yeah. So they're walking and doing what ants do. One ant is following the other ant, and they're walking in a line. And this blade of grass falls, and it cuts the ant line in half. And the ants that are right at the blade of grass are freaked out. They have no idea. They can't see the ant butt in front of them that they're supposed to be following, and all all hell breaks loose. It's chaos. And a leader comes in and says, it's going to be okay. Follow me. Let's work through it. And that, if you're struggling with leadership inside your organization, take some time and go watch the movie A Bug's Life and watch that scene. Think about why you might be struggling inside your organization from a leadership perspective and why your people might be struggling inside the organization from a leadership perspective. Is there a lack of alignment? Is there a lack of leadership? Is there an opportunity to think a bit differently about the way that you approach that blade of grass and ultimately realize that it's really not that big of a thing? It's just something that changed in front of them and you can't see that ant butt in front, but we're going to go ahead and lead them and get everybody back in line. So that would be another movie to watch. Cassie, thanks for joining me in this discussion. Really enjoyed it. Where can people go to find out more about what you're working on and connect with you directly?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So I'm currently, as Mike stated, we're in the middle of May of 2023. I'm currently redoing my website, so more to come on that. But for now, if you visit me on LinkedIn, I'm Cassie Tucker on there, and Instagram as well. That's the best place to get in contact with me. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. If you know of somebody who would enjoy this conversation, please share it with them. Let Cassie and I know both via LinkedIn, Instagram, and you can let me know via Twitter. Every once in a while, I see Cassie show up on Twitter, and we're going to see if I continue to be a magnet that draws her deeper into that space. Sales is a thinking process. Business is a thinking process. Life is a thinking process. How are you thinking differently about your process?